YouTube, what's good? It's your boy, Paul Harris, aka the Crazy Uncle. Hey, guess what? This your first time tuning in. Go ahead, hit the doggone subscribe button, hit the notification bell every time I post up new content. Got my tasty beverage, as you can see, or at least one of many of my tasty beverages. But that's neither here nor there. Y'all know it really isn't a time when I do a show that I don't have a tasted beverage. So uh, let's just get that. Let's just put that out there. So in either case, what I want to talk about today is pretty much of what happened yesterday, and for the and you know um, they're like say I usually try to keep up on stuff, but I have to say that this one actually really slipped by me. So apparently yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day. And so for the most part, I sat here and because like I say, I really didn't catch on to it until like late yesterday because I was sitting up there, I was going through the wonderful world of YouTube, and I kept seeing it, and I'm just like, fuck they talking about? Indigenous People Day, right? So I'm just like, then eventually, like later on that night, right? Later on yet last night, I looked at it and said, oh shit, okay. And then I forgot that it was, I also forgot that it was Columbus Day yesterday, right? So, I mean, and then the only reason why, and I guess that's probably the reason why I didn't catch it. I mean, because everybody was taught at one time that Christopher Columbus came over here, discovered America, which is another subject I'm actually really going to talk about. That, he came over here and he so called discovered America, knowing that it was motherfuckers already over here. Right? And just know this, people. I sincerely hope for those y'all that actually going to watch this one that you got your motherfucking scuba gear on. Because I'm finna take you motherfuckers down to the Marianas Trench. Now, me on the other hand, my lungs can actually like really withstand that type of pressure. So, so in either case, let's just actually like I'm gonna try to break this shit down. I'm gonna try to break it down in Barney terms, the best way that I can and know how. So, first and foremost, let's actually like really look at the word indigenous, right? And by definition, right, it's that okay, hey, look, you was born at such and such a place, such and such a time, right? And then I have to actually really go back, you know, and then so basically what happens is this, because I was just looking at some stuff, and so basically, it was a total and completely different subject, which, but by the time this show is over with, I'm actually like really going to get into what he was talking about, right? And so basically here's the deal, people. So hold on, because I'm really trying to do this because because you know me, like I'll take stuff probably like from everything possible, and then once I actually really look at it, decipher it or whatever, then I actually really just come out and say it. But this is one time that I really wish I really knew how computers work, but because I can't, right? All what the fuck the crazy uncle can do is just tell you what the fuck I remember seeing. So basically, um, back in the day when cartoons were cartoons, right? Uh, I used to watch the Bugs Bunny Road Runner movie, right? And so basically, Bugs Bunny being the main character, and so basically he was just talking about how he got into business and all that kind of stuff. And then, but a question was asked, right? And said, the question was, where did the chase come from? Who came up with the very first chase? And so basically, what he said, well, in order to answer that question, we have to swing back in time a little bitty bit, right? And so basically, what he was saying, he said, in the beginning, all was peaceful and quiet. Quite dark, too. Every once in a while, a star exploded. But that was only so many millions of miles away in diameter, right? He said, anyway, nobody complained, which was odd until you realized that there was nobody around to complain. So for at least 15 to 20 billion years, everything went on smoothly and pleasantly until one day, in a galaxy, right? You know, he talked about the sun, and then he talked about the planet Earth coming together. And then he said, and about a strange creature called man, right? And he had his little club, he was pigeon toed, and then he was just like, I'll take it, right? Then it actually really goes into how, in a sense, it goes into how uh, woman came about and how all this shit got like how it is right today. So basically, what I'm saying is this, right? To be indigenous to a land, right? For one, you got to come from that, right? And so basically, it's like, okay, long as you from there, that's all that fucking matter. You just from there, meaning that you really don't know how to do nothing else. Hey, I'm from here, right? And at least here in the United States, motherfuckers celebrate it. I mean, for me, right, when people they'll look at a day and they say, "Ooh, well, this day we gonna celebrate," right? Not knowing that a year from now, shit changes, right? So again, so whoever these people are, right? They didn't found out all of a sudden. Okay, also we indigenous now, but we gonna celebrate it on the same day that Columbus so-called discovered America, which that's another point. Because here's the thing, right? Motherfuckers will throw a bone to you, right? And say, well, Columbus discovered America. Okay, then you find out, okay, people came out to greet him, which I actually really find that I'm just gonna sit up here and say, well, I'm gonna call bullshit on that, because I'm just like, unless somebody was out there guarding the perimeter, Columbus had to walk around for a little bit before he saw the damn body, right? And then there's the so-called the language barrier. I'm speaking one language, you speaking another, right? So again, so for people to be like, okay, well, he discovered America, and there were people already over here. So that was like the $64,000 question forever, right? Then here come this doctrine of discovery, right? And so basically, what the doctrine of discovery was, okay, hey, look, you run into a new group of people, right? And then you feel like, okay, well, if they're not following your guidelines, then they're not recognized as a group of people. Now, until they actually really adhere to your guidelines, then they can be recognized. So when people say, "Oh, this Columbus discovered America," that's what the fuck they were. What the fuck they were talking about, right? I mean, because you can't go back and say, hey, look, it's people there already." And for the most part, I'm looking at this like, don't y'all think that Columbus knew that shit? Because why the fuck else would he come to what is now called the United States of America? Right? So again, let's go back to this indigenous bullshit for a minute. So for me, right, they're like saying, by definition, you come from where the fuck that you was born at, then it's like, okay, hey, look, this is where he from, this is where they from. So in a sense, I don't mean, and I'm backtracking now. So basically, I'm like, oh, hey, look, you from here. So if I come here, then you can tell me, hey, look, where all the hot spots at? And then I'll take you where all the hot spots at. That's what they actually really mean. That's what it actually really means to be indigenous, I guess. But here's the deal though. Motherfuckers do move. Right? And so basically, don't nobody stay in the same damn place. And if you do, that's your motherfucker. That's your goddamn loss. Right? But over the course of time, right, shit doesn't do change. So, but now, like I said earlier, right, if you want to call, if these motherfuckers want to call the indigenous, then hey, look, good for y'all. Right? But see, you gotta look at it like this, right? So when you put a tag on a day, and you gonna call this Indigenous People Day, so do you tell the people that's across that water over there? Because guess what? They indigenous too. It's like indigenous people of the land, whether it's here stateside or across that damn water. And I already know somebody gonna sit up there and say, well, that ain't what the fuck they talking about there. What the fuck they talking about there? Because it's funny. See, all these so-called woke motherfuckers, right? You want to pick yesterday as the day. They call it indigenous. It's funny. I mean, like I say, everybody want to be woke. Everybody want to be woke, right? But I'm just looking at it. I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, but you gonna put it the same day that Columbus so-called discovered this shit, right? Now I know people gonna be like, well, we don't know the exact date when we came over. It don't fucking matter. Just put like this. You could have put that shit in. You could have made it what? March 18th, right? And then according to the calendar, I want to. It's either March 15th or March 18th. That's springtime hits. That's when you can actually really start growing shit again, right? Now, unless these motherfuckers they doing it because everything is about to die off. So again, it's just almost like, okay, do y'all really sit down and think about what the fuck it is that you're doing? Okay, yeah, Christopher Columbus came over in October. But then again, you also gotta look at it like this, right? Because was it really in the month of October? Because it hasn't always been 12 months in a year, people. All right. So, and this was way back in what, 1492? And again, I done told y'all too many times about how time works. So again, you want to call yesterday Indigenous Day. What the fuck for? Right? And especially if you're going to have it on the same day as Columbus Day. When everybody has clearly said, oh, Columbus didn't discover America. Okay, because he saw us. Look, hey, guess what? I get all that, right? But then, like I said, I wouldn't. Listen. I wouldn't call it. Put like this: if you want to call it, like I say, if you want to call it Indigenous Day, then hey, by all means. But God damn it, put that shit in another month. You raggedy motherfuckers gonna put it in the same month and the same day of a bullshit holiday. Now, how smart is that? Like, seriously. And so I shall lead with the queen. But I had a moment there. But see, here's the deal, right? And like I said, you gotta ask yourself, like, well, why call it indigenous? I mean, like, what are you really trying to separate yourself from? Right? Because I mean, the only reason why I say that is because it's always been about the so-called black folks and so-called white folks. And then again, I have to go back to what Bernie Mac said, right? He like, don't you hate racism? Black thing, white thing. Always say, if I was Chinese, I'd be mad at the motherfucker. You'll never say shit about us, never. right? So, so, so again, right? People always holler about, oh, well, they copycat, copycat this, copycat that, copycat the other, right? But then again, I hear that, right? And then I start thinking, I'm like, well, you know what? Who's the real copycat here? Because now here's where the video that I was watching comes into play. Because they like I said, I've been watching all this Indigenous People Day shit. You know, I caught on to it. I caught on a little bit to it late last night, and I finished up today for the most part. So basically, in order to like actually like really refresh my memory, I just I looked at and I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, where did white folks, so-called white folks, come from, right? And then everybody will have their own opinion on where white folks come from, right? Let some of these motherfuckers tell you they're like, well, they came from the Caucasus, the mountain of Caucasus, or however the fuck Cat Williams said that shit in that one movie. Say they come from the Caucasus Mountains. Well, first and foremost, you got to ask yourself, well, how did they get up there? That's the that's the first question that you need to ask yourself. All right, because motherfuckers just don't pop up everywhere, right? And so basically, what this guy was saying, and which he wasn't the ones that think that everybody come from Africa, which that within itself is bullshit. But in our case, right? In order, basically, what they were saying, in order for something to survive, the sun got to hit it, and it got to be warm or whatever, in order for it to do whatever the fuck it's supposed to do. So basically, what happens is this. So everybody is in this small little area. And so then after a while, it get crowded. Then people move out, they spread out. Right? And so basically what he was saying, okay, some motherfuckers, they moved up just a little bit too far. Right? So it got cold and the sun didn't hit them. And I'm just like, and then they actually like really, he was actually really breaking the shit down, talking about that the human skin has 5 layers to it, which he was actually like really two off. I can't actually like remember the other two, right? But in either case, he was saying that when it gets down to that one level, right? And then if the sun don't hit it, then it can't do what it's supposed to do. Pretty much like how it is, in which, I'm gonna call bullshit on that because for one, right, we all come from the earth, right? And then, but I could be like, well, regardless of where you at, the grass is gonna stay green all goddamn year long, right? Because it's almost like basically what he was saying. Okay, apparently that the sun didn't come out for a pretty good while, right? And so when the sun don't hit it, then okay, shit ain't gonna grow. But my whole deal is when you get people that talk like that, right? Then here it is. Then you're actually really saying that the earth is old as fuck, which again I'm gonna call bullshit on that, right? Because the thing about it though is this: if the earth is that, if like this, if the earth is as old as they say it is, right? Then we as human beings should be a hell of a lot more advanced than what we are, right? And then and then here it come right here, right? Then some of you motherfuckers say, well, we are okay. Being a shapeshifter or goddamn reptilian don't count, okay? And then it's just for the simple fact I only see that shit on TV. I ain't never ran across a motherfucker, right, where their eyes that shifted, right, or a gill that popped out on the side of their neck or whatever. You only see that shit on television. And then you ain't finna be just looking the motherfucker dead in the eye to see, okay, it, then they be like, what you looking at? Oh, I'm trying to see if your eyes gonna change. Ain't nobody finna do that shit. So all that shit that y'all see on TikTok or whatever, and you know what's so bad about it? And them bastards, they would tell you entertainment purposes only. And a lot of you motherfuckers still believe that shit. That would get that, that what gets me. But again, I'm getting off subject here. So here's the deal, right? So that's one deal. You start out in one place, people grow, then you venture out, you spread out. And then there's the other one that I like to think of, and then it just let's say I really don't know how y'all are about the Bible. A lot of people don't believe what a lot of stuff that was said in the Bible. But for those of you that actually really believe in what the Bible says, y'all already know what happened to Moses. Yahweh had to prove to him. He's like, okay, you don't believe who I am? Take your hand, put it in your bosom, pull it out. And when he pulled it out, right, it said it was leprosy, or it was white, right? And so then put his hand back in, pulled it out, came out as the original color, right? So so my whole deal is okay. You can get everybody in the village, whatever. In the village or villages. Hold on for a minute. So everybody is the same color, of course. So everybody having babies left and right. So everything is good, right? Until this one baby come out, and guess what? He or she or they don't look like everybody else. But then again, you gotta ask yourself, well, who you finna blame? Because everybody's the same goddamn color. right? And so basically, what happens? You don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking about the albino people. Where the fuck they come from? Because here's the deal. Let's just say that all of the albino people, so-called albino people, were gathered up and said, hey, look, go for what you know. But you can't come back here. Right? And so, and then motherfucker, they were talking about, and so when people say, well, that we as black people, so-called black people, they say, well, look, we can produce any color out there. And so I'm just like, well, again, I beg to differ, especially if everybody's the same goddamn color. You know, because to be albino, right, that's like a mutation. You fell short on something, right? Or the child fell short on something due to your fuck up, right? And so basically what happens is this, right? You just the same as me, but you ain't got no color about yourself, right? And so now going back with what he said, right? It get too crowded and people branch out. But then again, you almost got to ask yourself, okay, for that to happen, and that's what they say. It that you know basically what he was saying. That shit takes some years to happen, right? But when all that, all chances are, what the fuck happened? You came out as an albino, right? And they were like, "Hey, partner, look, you gotta go." So basically, what happens is that they gather up all of them and they run them off. Maybe they ran them off to the Caucasus Mountains, right? So they mad because they was like, "Oh, you finna fault me because of how I look?" Pretty much what motherfuckers do today. Oh, you finna fault me because of how I look? You can call it body shaming, you can call it whatever the fuck you wanna, but just know this. Just know this, people. What we do now, they did it way back then, right? And they run motherfuckers off. So now you mad at the motherfucker. And then over the course of time, right? You come up with the most diabolical plan in human history. And then it's like, and see, here's another thing. You come up with like I said, you come up with the most diabolical plan in all of history. And it's almost like, you know what? I'm going to make these motherfuckers think that I'm white, knowing damn well I'm not white. But then I'm going to have you motherfuckers think that you're anything and everything but what the fuck you really are, right? Then I'm going to come up with all these books and you're going to be reading all this shit. And guess what? You still ain't going to fucking find out. A lot of this stuff, you like, well, it's in the records. You know what? Guess what? It's in the records because, damn it, I put it there. So basically, this is what happens. is put into play. And then these motherfuckers, they just sit back and just watch. Hey, look at that motherfucker over there. Look at them three right there. Oh, look at them over there. Running around like roaches trying to find the goddamn truth. And the only reason why I did it because you thought that I was something. You thought that I was something else. And then you also got to stop and think about it for a minute, right? And let's just look at it as far as like the United States of America is concerned. But before I do that, I got to ask this question. Why do we have mirrors? Right? That's the question you need to ask. Answer yourself. Ask that question. Try to answer it the best way you can. Right? But then again, if you actually really want to go back to my previous channel, I actually really did a show. See, I did shows like this already, right? I mean, I regret the fact I didn't, I did them separate. But the thing about it though, when I did them shows, I talked about Christopher Columbus and the DOD, or the document of discovery. And I actually really did one, and I actually really called it. Yeah, I called it a reflection upon a reflection upon a reflection upon a reflection. I actually really did that. So basically, what happens is this: you go look in the mirror, you see yourself, right? And then you fix up whatever the fuck you need to fix up, carry your ass out the door, right? But then what happens? Somebody came with the lovely idea, right? Matter of fact, somebody somewhere came up with the lovely idea. Now, this may or may not work, right? But somebody came up with the lovely idea. If I put a mirror in front of another mirror, right? I know that if the light is bothering you, then it is what it is. But you can see me right here. Then you can see me again, see me again, and see me again, and see me again. Right? So I did that to say this. If you actually really look at what, so again, you gotta ask yourself, why is Indigenous Day called Indigenous Day? And if you actually really go back and look at, and for the most part, listen, it's like what I always tell y'all. I'm not here to clown nobody. It's not what the fuck I do, people. All I'm doing, I'm just asking motherfucking questions. Why you actually really gonna call it Indigenous Day when everybody's goddamn indigenous? Everybody. Right? It's almost like this is almost like the chosen people syndrome type deal. I mean, if you want to holler that we was the first ones here, then okay, by all means. We was the first ones here. Everybody was the first ones here, okay? So so again, with all of the stuff that might have transpired throughout history, right? You gotta look at it and be like, okay, well, why did it go down the way that it went down? And it's only one clear explanation, right? People start coming out looking differently. People got scared. People got ran the fuck off if they didn't kill you. You know, so and then so when you get run off like that, then of course you're gonna get mad. Then you're gonna come up with the most diabolical plan ever. Because again, it's like what my man said. At one point, we was Africans, so-called Africans. Then we became Negroes. Now it was black, Negro, then African American. Then somewhere down the line, somebody said, "Oh, we were never African, right? We were never black. We were never Native American. We were never none of that shit." You know, so but and it's funny how the shit goes. Cause again, let's look at the so-called Columbus Day deal. At one point, everybody like, okay, well, we finna celebrate Columbus. We finna celebrate Columbus Day because he discovered America. Then somebody started paying attention. I'm like, well, how he do that when people was already here? Then here comes the doctrine of discovery, right? And so again, right? So it's all like, okay, well, fuck Columbus. We gonna call it Indigenous Peoples Day, and we gonna put it on the exact same day that Columbus so-called discovered America. So I'm just like, but then again, this was 1492, right? A damn near, so 200 plus years went by before these motherfuckers started calling it America, right? So now you got to ask yourself, so okay, so what the fuck did Columbus really discover? What was it called then? Now I know a lot of people they're gonna say, what is that? Turtle Island, which again, I ain't got no problem with you calling it whatever the hell it is that you actually want to call it. But my whole deal is this. It's like you want to do this. You want to call it Indigenous Day, and I was like, okay. I mean, now look, if listen, if I'm missing it, please tell me. Put the crazy uncle on the right track, okay? Cause like right now, I'm just looking at this back. Okay, copycat. Somebody copycatting some goddamn where. I and so the question is, well, who's copying off of who? Because I look at it like this. If you look at how this country was started, your 13 colonies. right? And y'all already know where the fuck I'm going with this. So you got your 13 colonies, but I'm also looking at the simple fact, okay, if you had 13 colonies, then another 13 had to come from somewhere. Yeah, there it is right there. I'll play that later. But so what I'm saying is the 13 colonies, don't nobody just come up with the number 13, right? It was, you know, it had to be something about that specific number that whatever the fuck that was going over there in England, then they come here, they run off, then they come here, set up shop. Now you got 13 colonies. And then you have the so-called 13 bloodlines. And so again, you got to ask yourself, okay, where did the 13 bloodlines come from? Right? And the answer to that is simple. Now, a lot of y'all be like, a lot of y'all know them as the 12 tribes of Israel. But just know they only talk about 12. It's actually like 13. And so here's the deal. Again, let's go back. Everybody the same color. Then here you come out looking like this. So somewhere down the line, they got this information, right? While they doing the diabolical plan. So you get your 13 bloodlines, you get your 13 colonies, but just know that there was 13 tribes. So again, I'm just looking at, okay, somebody somewhere is doing a copycat. You're mirroring, you put like this, whatever this motherfucker do, guess what? I'm gonna do it. What this song that Ludacris had out a while back? When I move, you move. Yeah, just like that. So again, people, y'all motherfuckers holler about Indigenous Day. And I'm just like, hey, I don't know. I because I look at it like this, and I'm gonna use myself as an example. I was born right here, Little Rock, Arkansas, right? At the age of 24, I joined the United States Army. So guess what? I had to leave Little Rock, Arkansas, right? I didn't know shit about motherfucking Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I didn't know how they did things. Matter of fact, I didn't have time to learn how to do things because the motherfucking drill sergeant and shit was all in my face. But I graduated basic training. Then I took my ass to motherfucking Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, Texas, where stuff, it was still, drill sergeant still in my face, but they actually like really let us have it a little bit. Now, great the fact, no, I'm not indigenous to Texas. But the thing about it was this. I stayed in Texas long enough until where that I could be like, okay, well, hey, you know what? This is how the fuck they do things here. But at the same time, I never considered myself as a Texan, right? But and that's only because, hey, guess what? I know better. Now, granted fact, these motherfuckers is calling themselves either Native American or Indigenous people or the $5 Indian, whatever the fuck that y'all want to call them, right? Now, with some people, it's quite obvious. Well, then again, I can't even say that because, again, right? Considering what the fuck happened way back in the day, you got ran off. We ran you the fuck off because you come out looking like that you wasn't done all the way. So we run your ass off into places that is now called the Soviet Union and all that kind of shit. Right? And then it's like, oh, okay, so this is what the fuck we do now. So let me jump in on this. Right? And then shit is copied. Again, just like the damn mirror. And then they can say, oh, yeah. And then we like, we did this. Right? And you be like, no, you didn't. And then it's like, motherfuckers forgot. Hey, I'm still your brother. Right? Remember me? I'm the one that had no pigmentation. Or no melanin, as y'all call it. Because, and I said this, look, my blood type is A positive. And there's a whole bunch of so-called white folks out there that got the same blood type that I do. Right? So that within itself should tell you something. And so a lot of people gonna be like, okay, well, what about the laws that were put in play? What about this? What about that? What about the other? Again, if I'm the same as you, but I don't look like you run me off after I try to explain shit to you. Yeah, I'm gonna give you some bullshit ass laws too. Because it's quite obvious you never got what the fuck you did to me way back in the day. They always say nobody hurts like family. So again, it's almost like Juneteenth wasn't. It's almost like, well, Juneteenth wasn't good enough for y'all. Now y'all gotta have another day. Okay, I'm just like, so you got 2 days out of that. You know what? You got 2 days out of the so-called 365. Right? So good for y'all. Good for you. Good for y'all. Whatever the case may be. Right? Because my you get people that, okay, like, hey, look, you hear this, you hear it for the first time, you're like, damn, you know what, that makes sense. And then I did another show on my previous channel, and I call it name switching. So again, for all y'all motherfuckers that y'all want to holler about that we indigenous this, that, and the third, right? So my thing is this: if we so goddamn indigenous, right? Then why the fuck are we calling? Oh well, and I'm guilty of it too, right? How come we saying shit like, well, my grandma was Cherokee, or my great-great-grandma was Cherokee, or my great-great-grandfather was Blackfoot, and Apache and Comanche and all that other shit, right? How about we start calling ourselves for who the fuck we really are? The goddamn Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. And just know that, and I could be wrong for saying this, but my thing is this. Whatever zodiac sign that you're born under, right? It actually really correlates to one of the tribes. I mean, so my deal is this. You want to call yourself indigenous, fine. Ain't got no problem with that. But this don't stop at the motherfucking so-called American Indian. Take that shit a little bit further. Just like I told y'all. Have your scuba gear on, right? Because I've seen the goddamn ocean floor at the Marianas Trench. Y'all motherfuckers still finding your way, calling yourself indigenous. Now, call us for what the fuck we really are. So, with that being said, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell Big Dan, tell Big Bertha, your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your papa, motherfucker next door, cross street, round the corner. Paulus Harris, a.k.a. Crazy Uncle. I'm going to holler at y'all.